And so Japan will electrify. They already are very quickly. And they'll just dump the rest of their fleet on us. And we'll use it for the remaining lifespan of those vehicles, I guess.
And when those are done, that's when I'll be looking for electric.
Definitely. But I mean, you're going to see the wealthier move to electric much sooner. Right? Because I mean, the wealthier folks who've got, nice suburban mansions, they'll set up a big solar panel field in their backyard, probably just to show off, and be able to power their Range Rover and do whatever they got to do and drive around town for the next few weeks and go back home and recharge, even if there isn't a charging station.
So even the Range Rover is going electric.
All the SUVs are going to have an electric version. I mean, every one of these companies. Porsche started it with they had an electric Taycan, and Ford has now an electric F-150. So it's like all these giant vehicles. I think Hummer has an electric Hummer now. So they're all going electric, even the biggest. Well, actually, they're the ones that make the most sense to go electric. So that has been my criticism of the whole electric vehicle revolution from the beginning. The most easiest way to get benefit is to put batteries on giant vehicles, because the marginal additional weight and space of putting a bunch of big batteries in an 18-wheeler is a lot less of an impact than putting it in a passenger car. So the big trucks make almost half of all the particulate pollution and CO2. So not only CO2, but also the stuff that really hurts our health, which is the stuff that gets in our lungs and our eyes and et cetera, and causes cancer. So I think, and they're easier to maintain, right? Because big trucks usually are parts of fleets. And they have central charging or fueling stations, and they have central service places for the mechanics to do their work. So fleets, I mean, big, truck fleets to me make the most sense to electrify. Now, Africa may end up switching to that. It may, because in conjunction with the electric car is the self-driving car and the self-driving truck. And so I can imagine a lot of these logistics truck companies might decide it's, for a variety of reasons, it makes sense for them to switch to, basically, truck bots.
Right, so we could get electric cars quicker, like the everyday person to the electric.
Oh, when do I see it happening here? I think we're going to start seeing it penetrate within 5 years. You'll start seeing a few of them, and maybe we'll see electric fleet vehicles. Maybe. It's hard, to make the justification. One of the great justifications for electric vehicles is that they need a lot less maintenance because they don't have as many moving parts. An electric car's only got like 5 moving parts versus an internal combustion engine, which has got hundreds of moving parts. So just the friction, the degradation, all of that, the electric vehicle's got a huge maintenance advantage. And they've already seen that even with the hybrids, right? With the Priuses, that they need a lot less maintenance than a purely combustion engine vehicle, right? Because think about it, it's like an engine, explosions happening, engine getting hot. You have to have a whole water system to cool it down, and then as it's moving, it's turning cranks, and then you got your transmission that then spreads it out to the wheels, and versus you can have just 4 motors, a motor on each tire, and it's just, that's it. It's just, so your whole transmission's unnecessary. Your gear shifting mechanism is unnecessary. It's all computer, it's digital. So all those moving parts are gone. And air cooled, not water cooled, so you don't even need a radiator. So it's just like, it just makes it so much simpler. So anyways, electric vehicles have had advantages for a long time. I was mentioning that I've always been a fan of using them in the biggest vehicles, and that's actually where they started. They were used by the giant mining vehicles that went into coal mines, like these huge things you see from Alberta, Canada, where like trucks are as tall as buildings. Well, they go into these mines and places, and they can't have any sparks, because if there's any sparks indoors, it causes an explosion. So electric vehicle doesn't have to, there's no combustion engine. So there's no chance of, no spark that's going to light everything up. So that's what's interesting. In the course of even mining coal, they started using electric vehicles. Again, the new system is born inside of the old. And just like the oil companies being big into solar, or the imperialist powers trying to use it to rule the world, now we end up with a technology that gives people the freedom to live in the middle of nowhere if they want. So that's the same thing happened with the internet. That was built to sustain a nuclear war. And so Russia and America were planning on, waging nuclear war on each other. And so the US DARPA came up with TCP/IP, which is the fundamental protocol of the internet. And that's designed so that no matter what survives a nuclear war, it could eventually communicate with other surviving locations. So here was a technology born out of total nihilism and a willingness to destroy the whole planet, and yet and all in this desire to rule, and yet it gives rise to this very decentralized communication system where now so many people can express themselves like I'm doing now. And now it's no longer just broadcast media where a government controls all the radio stations and tells you what to think, but now everybody's opinion can be heard. Right. So that's the paradox. In the course of trying to rule the world, they gave birth to technologies that can give us freedom.